Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another LinkedIn Live. Happy Monday, everybody. We're back with another amazing guest. But before we dive into that, just a quick reminder that we stream all of these interviews to the YouTube channel as well. And so if you want to watch the replays or past interviews and you don't want to scroll through my newsfeed, then just head over to YouTube, type in Fail Coach, and while you're there you can subscribe to the channel as well. Let's do some promotion for that. But yeah, here with another amazing guest, Heather. It's a huge pleasure to have you here, and as always I will invite you to give us a quick introduction.
Thank you so much for having me, Miha. It's a lot of fun to have the tables turned because the last time we were in a room together, I was interviewing you for the Brave Files podcast. So I'm really glad to be here today. My name is Heather Vickery. I'm a success and leadership coach. I'm an author. I'm a speaker. And folks, Brave is my business. And I think it's very brave to fail. It's one of the reasons I love Miha and what Miha does so much. So my goal in life, both through the Brave Files podcast, through the Brave on Purpose Collective, which is a group that I host, and the Intentionally Brave Entrepreneurs Program, which is my full force coaching program, as well as one-on-one coaching and speaking, is to help folks redefine what it means to be brave in order to build a life that they love and a business that fits with that life. In fact, I have a new book out, and Miha is featured in it. We're going to talk more about it in a minute, but the book is called F Fearless. It's the second time I've been on LinkedIn today where I probably shouldn't actually say the word. But what's the notion behind that? Well, the notion behind that is that society tells us that we're supposed to strive for fearless, that that's like the sign of success or a true leader is to not have fear. And that's just not the truth, right? Fear is a natural human emotion. We feel it, we experience it. And when we lean into our fears, when we sort of take them apart and learn from them, that's when we are able to choose bravely. And when we choose bravely, we discover that we start to choose bigger things and we have bigger wins and payoffs and rewards from those choices. And even better, it's contagious to everyone around us. So that's me.
Lovely introduction, Heather. Well, should we start with maybe what are the most common fears that
Oh
you
my
see
goodness.
when people talk to you, when they come to you? Is there any fear that might be a good one?
Yeah, that's a great question. I believe deeply that our fears can truly help us understand ourselves better, right? I love sort of flipping things on their head. So I kind of think that all fears, if we don't hide from them, if we use them, if we take them apart, can be healthy. So, for example, and I'll give you a personal example right now. I have tons of examples in the book. That's what you are, Miha. Here as I call it a brave spotlight of other amazing people I've either coached or interviewed on the podcast. But here's something I'm personally going through right now. I've been an entrepreneur for almost 25 years. I have built three different businesses, plus two podcasts, plus a new one that's coming out. And I am once again following my own footsteps, practicing what I preach, and I'm reassessing, reframing, redefining who I want to be in this next version of my business, what I want it to look like. That is legitimately terrifying because we have to stop and go back. I have to go back and look at what has worked, what hasn't. I have to get all that feedback from past clients and say, what brought you here? What did you love about it? What did you think it was going to be? Why did you stay? And we really risk hearing some things that are potentially hard to hear. But what we forget, we focus so much on the thing that we're afraid of happening, like, oh, what if they give me bad feedback, which is silly because I'm talking to clients who have been clients for years, right? Like that shouldn't be my worry, but we're human. What we get that we forget we're going to get is positive feedback. We're going to get, I stayed because you made me feel seen and heard. I stayed because when I coach with you, I'm able to look at something from a new perspective or reimagine things or build something I didn't know was possible or actually give myself credit for the work that I've done or, whatever those answers could be. that's a thing that I'm experiencing right now. But Miha, I really believe that if we are honest about our fears, they all live in the future. Unless you're like being chased by a bear at this very moment, your life is in imminent danger, right? That all fear lives in the future. And so, what are we actually afraid of? We're actually afraid of maybe getting our feelings hurt or looking silly, right? We're afraid of making a mistake, which we all know in this room is exactly, we need to, if we're not failing, we're not trying, right? So, yeah.
Exactly. Well, one fear that I absolutely love and that kept me going for so many decades now is the fear of regrets. Because I still
Oh,
remember
yeah.
my grandma on my mother's side, she never did anything in her life. She
Mm.
lived a not a very joyful and happy life, and she was always just so full of regrets. And I guess because I grew up in the same house, we were all living under the same roof, and listening to her just bitching about it. Oh, by the way, here you can just say whatever you want. So
Oh,
yeah,
I love that. I didn't know if
yeah,
LinkedIn would like bleep us out.
yeah. So one thing that I got out of that was, instead of fearing something, I just jump in it. The more scary it is, um, the better. And I just do it because I'm like,
You
well,
don't want to
if
regret.
I don't do it, I don't want to regret that. And I've
Yeah.
done some crazy shit over the years because of that fear. And I do believe that that's a very positive fear to have.
I completely agree with you. When I take people through the coaching process and we start to think about what they really want, we always start by talking about what they don't want, right? Like if you did nothing different, one of these, I love this question. I ask this question in every, new client intake form. If nothing ever changes in your life, how are you going to feel when you're 90? And that is where we get to see that fear of regret, right? If we've never done
Yeah.
anything different, I'm still going to feel like I'm out of shape. I'm still going to feel, which I do, right? Whatever, because life is busy. I'm going to feel like wasn't successful as I wanted to be, or I wasn't as attentive of a parent, or I never traveled, or I never had fun, or whatever it is whatever bullshit excuses you're coming up with right now to not live the life that you want, which requires change and it requires risk, right? Um, that question, like people really resonate with that because that gives them a glimpse of just how stuck in this moment they are and what they want to change in order to build a life and a business that they love.
And the magic is always beyond the comfort zone. You have to go
Always,
outside there. And whenever
always.
you are outside of the comfort zone, it's scary.
So scary. I mean, it really is. And like I said, I am in this my every client that I work with is in this process. I am in this process because, I'd be curious to know for you, Miha, um, do you practice what you preach as a coach? Like, do you take yourself
Yes,
through? It's hard as
yes.
hell, right?
I have this, because I'm very clear on my personal values and the values of Fail Coach, and one of the most important values is walk your talk.
Yes, me too.
And so I would never ever teach or coach anybody to do stuff that I'm either not doing myself, or I haven't done it in the past, but
Yeah.
maybe now I don't need that anymore because I have a team member or something to do that for me. But I'm always coming from that, so I'm never going to BS. And so even when I like often people reach out to me after they hear me talk on a podcast or something, and they say, I really had that feeling that you were authentic, and the
Yeah.
vulnerability. But I always say, if I would lie or try to PR something, it would just clash against everything I believe
Absolutely.
in, and I just can't do that.
I love that. I think that's why we get along so well because I am really in this uncomfortable fail forward space right now as I take my business from a 6-figure business to a 7-figure business and like what does that look like? And it's hard work and I have to laugh. So the book takes you through my coaching method, which is called the Brave method. And Brave is an acronym, right? And the first letter, the B, is boundaries. And I love my boundaries. And you have to face a lot of your fears to decide what boundaries you want to have, right? Because the dictionary defines boundaries as limits of acceptable behavior. And then I like to remind you, you get to decide what's acceptable, right?
Yeah,
So what are you willing to live with? What are you not willing to live with? And then it forces you in all the right ways to have uncomfortable conversations and to set expectations and to communicate better with not just other people, but with ourselves.
especially with
And
ourselves. Yes.
especially with ourselves. And sometimes that means I need to take a break. And sometimes it means it's time to push through, right? And I've sort of been in that push through space for the last maybe 3 months. And now we might be entering the, okay, Heather, take a breath space.
Yeah. That reminds me a couple of well, quite a few months ago. I think it was in the spring. Every now and then, I do some leadership coaching for bigger corporations. It's not what I normally do, but every now and then they invite me, and they wanted me to guide them on happiness. And
Mm,
when I was thinking, like, okay, so how do we approach this? And then it hit me. You first need to take the time and really dive into who you are and really get to
yeah.
know yourself. And then it's simple. Just live in alignment with who you are and you'll be happy.
I love statements like that. Simple, folks, does not equal easy. It's
Yes.
simple, but it's not
Yeah.
easy.
Or freedom. Never easy,
Never
but
easy.
so
Simple
rewarding.
concept. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So Heather, how do we embrace fear? Let's go to that. How do we
Yeah.
embrace it, when, or how do we even recognize that we
Mm.
might be fearing something, and then how do we embrace it?
Yeah. So I call that the three R's. It's the R in the Brave method. Embracing our fears, discovering them, embracing them comes from reassessment, reframing, and then resilience. Right. So we must get really honest with ourselves. We must take the time to look at what has happened, what is in the process of happening, and how those things make us feel. What are we avoiding? What are we tolerating? What have we written off as, well, that's just the way it's going to be? Uh, what do we long for? And if we have some roadblocks of things that are constantly in our way, oh, I've been saying I was going to do that for months, but I haven't done that. We have to think about why. Why haven't you done that? And that's where your fears start to come to the surface. When you take the time, and I recommend people reassess on a daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly and annual level. It's a totally different type of reassessment. On a daily level, it's at the end of the day recapping, like, what happened with this day? Did this day go the way I wanted? Did it not? Did I achieve the things I wanted to achieve? Did I not? Is that okay? Did I change my mind? Because sometimes we change our minds. But if we are constantly facing things that we're not following through with, there's a fear there. And when we can take it apart in that reassessment phase, then we discover, oh, I'm afraid of this. Now that helps a lot. That's why I have coaches. I, just like Miha said, I wouldn't sell something I'm not willing to buy. Accountability partners. I have a personal board of directors. I talk about that a lot in the book. A group of people who individually, we don't meet in a boardroom, right? Individually, I talk through different things that are happening in my life and in my business, and they get really real and really raw with me. And those fears start to come to the surface. And I don't know about you, Miha, but I can feel them physically. When I get close to sort of an upper limit block, I can feel it in my chest, sometimes in my throat, sometimes in my neck, and I know that
Yeah.
I need to dig in on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you can be mindful enough and observant of the energies and what's happening, when you get in tune, you can really recognize those things. And
So
for
much.
me, it was more like almost like being bloated, or,
Mm.
or, or congested, you know. uh, but it's not as easy as, just taking a medication that speeds up the whole process when you are congested from other things. But
Yeah.
it felt like that. It was here near the stomach, and you were just feeling like, almost like you've just overeaten yourself. And
Constricted. Yeah.
yeah, and you know how sometimes when you eat too much and you're like, damn, right now I could just go to the toilet, put the finger in, and just take it out that way. And 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 that's kind of similar-ish feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. Or it's usually kind of when you go, oh, fuck it. I just want to cut and run. Right. Like this is all just too much. Like
Yeah.
I can't, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know the answers. I was talking to my own coach this morning and she was like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know what's next. And she's like, okay. All right. Crazy Heather has showed up to today's meeting. So we need to calm her down so that real Heather can come back in because we do get overwhelmed, folks. And I want to normalize that, right? Like this is embracing our fears, choosing bravely is not about always being happy. It's not toxic positivity. Listen, I'm certified in positive psychology. I believe in the power of gratitude immensely. I know the science behind it. But I also believe in self compassion and I believe in being honest about the way that we feel in these moments because our feelings are valid. And I think about the interview I did with you, Miha, on the Brave Files, and we talk about it again in the book, is that feeling of why am I here? What am I doing here? I can't do anything right. I don't know how to do anything. Which, of course, none of those things were true, but we feel that way. And when we feel that way, they're relevant.
Yeah. And it's important what you just said. It's not now we are coaches and that shit never happens to us.
Yes.
We still have sucky days, bad days when you just want to stay in bed and watch reruns of Friends and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just a normal part of life. It's not like, ooh, I never fail. No, I fail a whole lot. I mean, I don't think there's a day when I don't fail. And all other fears, they come up, and we go on hamster wheels. I do believe that I'm a very good business coach based on all the results and everything, but when it's my business, I go on the hamster wheel. I do the crazy
Absolutely.
shit that I help my clients with. And if
Yeah,
I wouldn't have my own coaches, yeah, that kick me in the ass when I need that,
absolutely.
and get me off that wheel.
That is exactly right. We all go through this process, and it really helps to get an outside perspective. I'm a big fan of accountability, setting up accountability systems, having folks that you can talk to about things and process things with. And I love systems. Like I said, that the daily, weekly, monthly,
Yeah,
quarterly, annual systems. Like I want you to do those. I give a ton of examples of different systems in the book, but I also want you to know that sometimes we have to fall off the horse to remember that those things work well. I don't know why as humans we do that, but sometimes things work like a well-oiled machine over and over and over and over, and it's almost too good. And maybe it's self-sabotage, maybe it's fear of success, I don't know, but we like throw everything out the fucking window. And the bottom falls out and we're like, what happened? And you go, oh, I stopped doing my systems. Those things work, right? And then you come back and you do it again. And every once in a while, that's just normal. We
yeah,
sometimes just need to get off the path to recognize that what we wanted was working, or that it wasn't. And we need to come at it at a different angle, try a different approach. That's
yeah,
all very
yeah.
normal.
Yeah, sometimes life comes in the way, and we are just a bit too busy, and then we say, oh, I've done this so many times, I'm good at it. But yeah, then yeah, pain is by far the best motivator for change. And sometimes we just have to feel that pain. The good
Yeah,
thing is that we know what will get us out of that pain, because we
that's
we,
it.
we can just return back to those old systems. They might take a little time to generate the momentum again, but yeah, we know what to do, so we can quicker and quicker and quicker pick ourselves up. And
Yeah.
um I'm a big fan of using reminders.
Oh,
uh,
me
um,
too.
yeah, just for anything, and but not just one time reminders, but like back in the day when I was training how to be more mindful throughout the day, I had a reminder go off every 30 minutes from 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. all the way to 10 p.m. Every 30 minutes, be mindful, be mindful. And after a few weeks, I was more and more and more mindful. And then, I did achieve that I can go most of the day being really in control, mindful, making decisions, and so on. But and then I started deleting some of those reminders, but I still have 5 of them because I just
Yeah.
don't want to fall off that wagon, and I just keep them there just for the safety's sake. Um,
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the reasons I love and I highly recommend time blocking and building in. So you do a block 30 minutes, an hour, whatever you want on whatever project, but then build in a 5-minute walk or a stretch or a short visualization or a meditation or reading. I build into my schedule 15 minutes to read for personal and professional development every morning. Not that I wouldn't do those things anyway, but somehow we think we're not, like, oh, I'm so busy. Oh, I have so much going on. I shouldn't stop and
yeah,
walk. I shouldn't stretch. I shouldn't read. I shouldn't. And when we put them in our schedules, all of a sudden we've given ourselves permission. And I like to tell people, like, listen, if you need permission, I'll give it to you, but you're the one that has to give you permission. If it helps you, I give it to you. Blanket permission. You can do whatever you want.
yeah. So to go back to the brave, and to embracing fears. So uh, we ended up with the R. So what's the
Oh,
next
yes.
step in
Yeah.
the process?
Actually, it's a perfect one. So BRAVE, and A is action and accountability. And that's literally just what we were talking about right now
Okay.
is nothing works if you don't. We can dream all day long, and dreaming is important. We want to dream, we want to imagine, we want to visualize, but then it is time to create. And manifestation, it exists and works simply because we declare something and then we change our behaviors and our actions to make it happen. That's how we manifest something, right? So, action and accountability is about creating systems, creating processes to make your life work, to make your business work, to make yourself feel good, whatever that is, to remember to be mindful. My partner has a reminder similar to that that says breathe, and literally it goes off the same like 15 times a day. Oh, breathe, because we feel better when we get real oxygen, right? Whatever that needs to be. And then I am such a big fan of accountability. I believe it is absolutely crucial to have several accountability systems built into your life. It would be lovely, folks, if we could just hold ourselves accountable 100% of the time and follow through always, but that's just not real life human behavior for most people. There are some unicorns out there, and hats off to you, but I'm accountable to my team. They're accountable to me. If I don't do my job, they can't do their job. I'm accountable to my family, which is important. I'm accountable, obviously, to myself to the best of my ability for things like creating my schedule and putting in time to breathe or read or walk or meditate or whatever it is that I want to do. Right. I also have an accountability team that I meet with every 6 weeks, which I love. It's huge. I have an accountability text thread, different group of people. We talk about different things. I go to them for specific things. And then my accountability partner that I talk about in the book, Eddie, is just kind of my little lifeline, right? And once a month we sort of have this down and dirty conversation. We talk big picture and really get in the weeds on all of it. And it really helps me get some clarity. Of course, I have accountability to my clients. And that's one of my favorite things about my Intentionally Brave Entrepreneurs program is my clients have lots of accountability. They have me as accountability. They have accountability partners. So get yourself several accountability relationships, because they do have the power to change your life. Truly.
I have one, and you'll probably love it as well. Well, so how when was it last year when it was elections in the US?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
This is a rough year.
and one of my clients was against one of the two candidates. We don't have to mention any names, but you would love my client. I'm just gonna say
That
that.
tells me a lot.
Yeah, and because he needed some accountability. I said, just, do one thing: send all your money to your brother, sister, whatever, and make a pact that, if you, in the morning, you send them what you have to do to that day. And by the end of the day, if you haven't done it, they transfer 100 or $500 or whatever to the guy you don't like, to his re-election committee. He hasn't
Wow.
he hasn't missed a single to do for, I think,
Wow.
like
That is
three or
intense
three or four
accountability.
3 or 4 months. So sometimes accountability can be doing something good for something that you really hate. Or,
Yeah.
if you're a vegan, make a deal that you, I don't know, somebody will send some money to a fur factory, or, something. Just sometimes that pain, you just need to find something that's
I
even
like the shadow work.
scarier, yeah, than what you're about to do. So that was one idea that we had, and it worked.
I love that. I love the shadow work idea. I do. I think that's
Yeah.
really cool. Listen, I mean, and that's kind of the whole point is, and I say this in the book as well, is I only have one rule, and that one rule is that there are no rules. Come at it whatever way you want. The Brave method is a creative and strategic approach to building a life that you fucking love and a business that fits with it. Instead of the way a lot of people try to do it or have always done it in the past, is I'm going to build this business and I'm going to morph my life around the business. And that is not our best path to happiness. Build your life. And then your business should be an extension of that. And it's a go-to to problem solve, create, plan, build, pivot, change. You can go back to it over and over again from a different perspective. We change all the time. That's the only constant. We're different
Yeah.
people today than we're going to be next month than we were last year. So you can go back to these systems and this method and these approaches and reinvent or get yourself out of a hole or build something new. For me this year, what's been really obvious in my whole company is we keep hitting ceilings. We're not hitting floors. It's not like we're not failing down, we're failing up. Like, oh, I have taken this thing as far as it can go. It's time to crack through that ceiling and build a second floor. And that comes from that reframing and that resilience piece, and getting into action. And how do you want it to feel? Decide. I had somebody on my podcast a couple of months ago that said, just because it hurts doesn't mean it has to matter. And I really loved that. Like, what
Yeah.
is this? Does this have to mean a lot to you? Or can it just be a thing that sucked
Well,
and then move
another
on?
good question that very often entrepreneurs don't ask themselves, and I guess it's just because, everywhere you look, it's billions and millions and Mars and space, and like, and somehow when you go into entrepreneurship, it's almost like everybody expects you to, just push it as far as you can to 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and whatever figures.
Yeah.
But one very important question: what's enough for you? And
Yes.
answer that. And if you are happy with a six-figure business, and it's what you want, just do that. You don't
Yeah.
have to lay all those foundations to go to gazillions and whatever. And very often, yeah, then you see people are just pushing, 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 but they don't know why, because it's not connected with what they
That's
really
right.
want.
Yeah. That's exactly right. You've got to dig in with what your true vision is, what your true why is, and be prepared to change, because sometimes those goals change. You may think you want to have $1 million business, and you may get in down the road planning it and go, wait a minute, this isn't making me happy. It's preventing me from having X, Y, and Z that I really want. My partner's a great example of that. She's a powerhouse, and she's building an incredible diversity and inclusion business. And at one point last year, she decided, I don't want to double scale and double. I only want to scale it about 15% because I love our ability to travel and my ability to take a day off if I want. And I don't really like managing all of these people, right? So you have to get really honest with yourself about what you want and why you want it. then either why you don't have it or why you don't think you deserve it, and take that apart. There's a lot of fear in that.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, very often when I'm working with clients, we try to figure out everything else first, and then what's left for the business.
Yeah, I
So
love that.
otherwise, yeah, I mean, if you're just working, eventually you come to the point where you ask yourself, why? Why am I doing this?
Why? That's
Yeah,
right. It's all about
Heather,
joy and celebration. Yeah.
let's go back to Brave. So now we are BRA.
Yep.
So the
And so
next one.
again, the conversation just seems to be naturally flowing, Miha. We're in sync here. I love that. The V stands for vulnerability. And the truth of the matter is none of this is possible unless you're going to be vulnerable. As Brene Brown says, vulnerability is the birthplace of invention. It is coming to our truest core, getting honest and authentic about who we are, what we want, why we want, who do we want to be in the world? How do we want to be in the world? Right? How do we want to feel in the world? How do we want to be seen in the world? And vulnerability doesn't mean cutting yourself open and turning yourself inside out and spilling your guts and going up to a stranger and telling them all your woes and worries. It simply means that you bring your truest self, that you say what you do what you say, that all of your core values align. I'll give you a great example. I was speaking at a conference actually a couple of weeks ago, and they sent an email that felt to me like it was a shaming email. And I won't get into too many details. They've rectified it really beautifully. It felt like it was gender shaming. It felt like it was fat shaming, lots of things that really didn't feel good to me. And I like these people. They are bringing me in to speak at their event. Like, this was super, super uncomfortable. But from a vulnerability and authenticity standpoint, and I have a commitment to speaking up when I see something that doesn't feel right, I sent an email and I said, I have to talk about this. This doesn't land well with me. I don't think it's going to land well with a lot of people. And I also don't think this was your intention. This is not who you are as a company. And I just want you to know this is how it made me feel. And it's my commitment to following through with what I say, to speaking up when I see a problem. And I have to say something, to which they said, you're right. We thank you. That absolutely wasn't our intention. We were rushed. We didn't think about it. We're going to make an announcement. We're going to create a change. And that's all the best any of us can do. From a vulnerability standpoint, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to screw up. We're going to put ourselves out there. We're going to get hurt. We're going to fall through sometimes. We're going to fail. And you go, okay, here's what I learned. Now I'm going to do something different, right? That's your whole fail coach thing. That's your whole fail forward thing. But being honest and authentic and vulnerable about it will set you apart from everyone else. And people can smell bullshit. So if you show up vulnerably and authentically, people can see themselves in you. They can feel connected to you. It widens your circle. It builds community. And it just makes living your life and running your business so much more pleasant.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you try to PR your way around, people can just smell that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so just having the guts to go out there and say, hey, I fucked. It wasn't meant like that. I didn't want to do that. It just came off wrong, whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, just own your own mistakes. Don't BS around it. Don't PR around it. Long term, it will just build on top of
So
everything.
much. Yeah. So much. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so we come to the last
The
E.
last letter, E. And E is a result letter. BRAVE. Boundaries, reassessment, reframing, resilience, action and accountability, vulnerability. And the last one is expand and empower. So those first four letters, and I've got all sorts of tips and tricks and examples in the book. You can do those in any order that you need to do them. You may find some or more your easy spot, some really stretch you out of your comfort zone. But when you do them, the result is that you expand and empower. And I want to be really clear about something. Empowerment is such a buzzword right now. Empowerment is inside work. Expansion and empowerment is yours and yours alone. You are the only one that can do it. Nobody can do it for you. I call total bullshit on any coaches who come out and say, oh, I empower people to X. No, they don't. You empower yourself when you make decisions and you follow through, when you show up for yourself, when you say no, when you say yes, when you communicate well, when you set strong boundaries, when you show up honestly and authentically, right? That's how you empower yourself. And when you empower yourself, you expand and you bring more of yourself out into the world. And the world is waiting for you to bring more of yourself, and you open yourself up to receive more, which is another way that we expand. So brave is this wonderful acronym that we can only embrace when we show up for ourselves. And remember that fear is what allows us to choose bravely, not fearlessness. Fear is what allows us to be brave.
Amen to that. And
Thank
I
you
agree absolutely. You can only empower yourself. The word empowerment, yeah, it's just thrown out too much lately. Just
so
like
much.
scaling, just like pivoting, just like vulnerability. I
Yeah.
love those vulnerable moment posts, and so on. Just freaking,
My
show up
favorite
and
thing, yeah, about vulnerability is you're most vulnerable when you don't have to declare that you're being vulnerable, when you're just telling your truth, right? I mean, that's like luxury. I used to be in the wedding industry, and people who would have to say, oh, I'm a luxury act, I'm a luxury planner, I'm a luxury photographer, I'm a luxury caterer. Like, if you're really luxury, your product and your brand would speak for itself. You don't have to declare that, and you don't have to declare it for vulnerability
yeah,
either.
yeah.
So yeah.
Well, Heather, we are slowly getting close to the end, and I still have two more questions for you.
Okay.
So, question number one is, what's the best way to reach you out,
Yeah.
like reach out to you, or is it by buying the book or visiting your website, connecting with you on
Absolutely.
Facebook,
Yes.
LinkedIn, like?
All the things. My kids think I'm a celebrity because if you put my name in Google, my picture pops up. No, I'm super easy to find. My website is vickeryandco.com. I'm at Vickery and Co on Twitter, on Instagram. We do have a Facebook page. I invite you to join my free Facebook collective. It's the Brave on Purpose Collective. It is just a group of people, a lot like me and Miha, who are leveraging our fears into intentional bravery, who are learning to fail forward, who want to be in community and collaboration with other folks who are doing that. So you can go to vickeryandco.com/brave on purpose and find us there. And then, yeah, if you liked what I had to say about the Brave Method, if you like my approach, if you like a little curse word here and there, and it's bite-sized bits and pieces. On page 262 is Miha's story. You can see that right here. I love that. You can just see his name right there. It's a series of memoir type stories, my lived experiences, Brave Spotlights, which are case studies from podcast guests and clients, and Brave Action. So you can get the book on Amazon. You can get it on bookshop.org. I hope you'll go and grab a copy today. It's officially released on Thursday, but you can pre-order right now. And I would love to connect with all of you. If you're a friend of Miha's, then I know we're gonna get along well.
Thank you. And people should go and buy the book and connect with you,
And
and
there is a
join.
Kindle version. Miha asked me that. There is a
Yeah,
Kindle and an
yeah.
ebook
So,
version.
yeah, if you're in Europe and you don't want to go through the hustle of ordering from Amazon.com, then you can go and buy the Kindle version. Absolutely. Well, Heather, since we are both quite the chatty persons, um, sometimes maybe I just forget to ask something, or there is something that we talked about but you want to emphasize. I call it the last golden nugget of wisdom, so the floor is yours.
Thank you. I would say my last golden nugget of wisdom is to remember that you get to define what brave is, and that there are 100 different ways to choose bravely every day, and they're going to shift for you. So some days getting out of bed might be the bravest thing you do, or recording a video, or making a sales call, or sending an email, or deciding to go on vacation or start a new business or start a podcast. It could be anything. And what is really powerful and impactful is to know, oh, this thing feels brave. I'm going to allow this thing to be brave because it's going to motivate me. It's going to empower me, right? Because your own brave can empower you to take things to the next level so that you feel joyful and happy and successful in your life and in your business. So that is my last golden nugget.
Perfect. An amazing ending to a great interview, coffee chat. I don't know, why do I even call this interviews? Because it's really just two fellow entrepreneurs having a chat about a certain topic. So, uh, Heather, thank you so much for being my guest, and just, thank you for being you. I really appreciate you for everything that you do, and the things that you are behind. So yeah, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I wish you all the best, and I wish you amazing success on Thursday when the book comes out. And I'm gonna go and pre-order it right after
Thank
I do
you.
the outro and before I close down the computer, just so that it waits for me on Thursday and I can start reading it.
Thank you so much, Miha. I appreciate the opportunity. It's so good to reconnect with you. You're just a joy, and I'm glad I get to be in your sphere. So thank you so much for having me, folks. I just would like to remind everybody to go out and choose bravely.
Thank you. Take
Thank you.
care.
Bye.
Okay, everybody. So this was Heather. Lovely as always. She's just such a fun person to know. Talking to her, whether that's for an episode or just having a private Zoom call with her, is always amazing. She's just a wonderful person, and I love what she's all about. I love this whole brave concept and embracing fear. So if this episode really resonated with you, the things that we talked, oh, dry throat, um, connect with her. She's tagged here on LinkedIn, but you can search for her on Facebook. You can find her group. You can go to her website. You can pre-order her book, or if you're watching this after this Thursday, you can just go ahead and buy it, whether the paperback version or the Kindle version. So yeah, that's it for today. Another Monday, another happy Monday. Next Monday, we are back with another amazing guest. And I hope you will all be there with me for the next interview or coffee chat. It's just I never drink coffee with it. But for now, happy Monday. I hope you're all safe and healthy, and that everything is going well for you. And see you next Monday. Bye.